Back when I got this Arctic Air Ultra personal air cooler that you see on your screen right now, I think I promised it in the video or in the description or both. I know I promised it in at least one place that I would upload a review video. Well, it's been 2 years and I have yet to upload a review video. And that's not to say I haven't tried. I have, at least on 2 occasions, recorded a review video of this unit, and I never uploaded it because I never liked the way that it turned out. So we're gonna do it again. And if this one doesn't turn out, then I will do it again. So this is a review video of the Arctic Air Ultra. That's what this is. It's not a how-to. Frankly, I don't think you need a how-to video when the instructions on how to operate it are sitting right there on the side. But the one thing that I want to get out of the way right off the bat is I think a lot of the negative press these things get comes from people who buy them with overzealous expectations as to how they'll perform. Now we'll get into the performance in just a little bit here, but there are a lot of people who buy these things and then complain that they don't cool the room. It's called a personal air cooler for a reason. It's not a room air cooler. What it's designed to do is cool the area in front of your person. Now the reason why this one is here is because I will fill it up before I go to bed, point it down like that, so while I'm sleeping, it will be blowing humidified air, basically, which again we'll get into my face. And I have found that helps me fall asleep at night. But they're designed to sit on a desk pointed towards you so that the airflow is blowing at your face. This is not going to do anything to somebody who is sitting across the room over there. It's just not going to do anything. So, I think that's important. It's a personal air cooler. It's designed to cool basically your face, really. You know, usually when you want to buy some kind of a cooling device that uses water, you'll go to the dollar store and you'll buy one of those fans that's got the squirt bottle on it. This kind of takes the place of that. So it's really meant for like an office, say at work or whatever. You point at your face during the day. It's not designed to cool off the room. It's not designed to replace air conditioning. However, performance-wise, there are surprisingly few scenarios in which something like this is going to really do a whole lot. The way that these things work is basically like a humidifier. If you open this up and you have a look inside, you might be able to see that little hole right there. I'm not sure if it's an ultrasonic transducer or what it is, but whatever it is, it atomizes the water and turns it into a mist, which then drops down into the unit in there, which you might be able to see. There's a little guide back there, and there's a fan at the back to direct airflow through this big giant filter in the front. So it works by humidifying the air. So this thing is only really going to work in an environment that's not insanely humid. And there are very few climates that fall under this category. If you live in Arizona or a desert, this would be a perfect thing for you because it's very arid down there. If you live in Vancouver, not so much. It's very humid there. Go ahead and we'll run it here. We'll just put it on high. Might be able to see the humidity stream coming out of that. And that's some reasonably cold water. And it is doing a decent job of cooling down the area. But you're not going to feel that all the way out here. And that's not even that far. That's just to the edge of the bed. So, once again, it really kind of drives home the point that this is a personal air cooler. Of course, it's got a couple of speeds. It's high. It's also got medium and low. Judging it's going to be kind of difficult in here because I've got all the fans running, but on high, it's particularly loud. So you might want to take that into account. It's also got this light on the top, which I really don't like. I wish it would default to off. It's useful at night when you're trying to judge how much water is in the bucket, but other than that, not so much. Let's take a look at aesthetics, since I've showed you the top here, and you can see it's got this plastic on it. The one thing I'm not a big fan of about this, personally, and this is just my personal opinion, is the glossy plastic on the top, which is why it still has this little plastic thing on it. It's supposed to look something like that. That's going to look good for all of about 5 seconds before dust gets on it, and then you get fingerprints on it, and then you scratch it, and it just doesn't look very good. I don't like the way that it looks at all. In fact, the whole unit, if you take a look at it, it screams extremely cheap to me. And these things are not cheap. If you go to buy one, I think it's like about $50 or $60 if you want to buy one brand new. Maybe even a little bit more, because this is the Ultra model. But you may have noticed just how cheaply built it actually is. And that comes into play when you look at this down here. You see, a lot of people have complained online about these things leaking. And I can tell you that yes, they leak, and they will damage OSB, which is what this is. So this is completely trashed now, which is unfortunate. I mean, it was a cheap shelf anyway, so I don't really care, but there's a reason why I've got this paper towel on it. Now, I have found that the reason for that, and I'm not blaming this on operator error, because that would be stupid, but if you take a look here at this base, if I can get this out, you can see it's very shallow. And the reason for that is because of the fan at the back. It needs to be able to, you know, put air through this. Is there actually water on that? No, it doesn't look like it, but you can see that there certainly has been. So in the wintertime, I tend to use this as a humidifier, which, again, we'll get into that in a minute. So I just run it continuously. You can't really do that. You can really only let it run until the reservoir runs out of water, and then the filter that's in it runs dry. I believe it will shut off. I think it's got a timer. I've never really known how long it will run for. Supposedly you can get 8 hours out of this water. I don't think you can get 8 hours. I think I timed it at like 3 or something. But that's just until the reservoir goes dry. That's not until the filter dries out. I'd imagine it takes quite a bit longer for the filter to dry out. But if you run it continuously, that will fill up, it will overflow, and then it will leak all over the place. That being said, I think the shoddy build quality is to blame for this seepage out here. I think if this were built to a fairly high standard, this wouldn't happen. It would just be pouring out the back. Something that you might have noticed just through the course of this video is all of the white spot stuff all over this grill, and the fact that there is definitely white spot on the filter. It's not mold or anything like that. It is the fact that I am not using distilled water. So the one negative thing about these is that if you don't use distilled water and you happen to have minerals in your water, which you will, because that's kind of how water works, it will end up as white dust. And if you have particularly hard water, you'll get white dust all over everything else for your trouble. This tip right here, I think, is also really important to note. I didn't do it for this run, just because I'm only really running it for the sake of this video, but if you put a filter in the freezer that's wet and let it freeze, it actually does help the cooling performance. I don't have the box for this unit anymore. I got rid of it because I have limited storage space. But as I remember it, there were 3 main features that it boasted on the box. It cools, it humidifies, and it purifies. We're going to get the purifies part of it right out of the way right now. That's nonsense. I believe that what they mean that it's supposed to do is this filter in the front is supposed to trap dirt particles and garbage. That's not going to happen. Like, I mean, look at the gap that thing has. It's not going to trap anything unless it just happens to hit the filter. So, purifies, no. Humidifies, absolutely. Because that's basically what it is. It is a cool mist humidifier. As a humidifier, I have noticed that this thing is plenty capable of bringing it not to where it should be, but it's certainly capable of bringing it up from 5% to 8, 9, 10%, which is a pretty decent increase. Which leaves us with cool. Does it cool? And that's going to depend upon your definition of cool. If it's a hot, dry day, and you got it pointed at your face, yeah, it does a pretty decent job of cooling it down. If you've got the Vancouver treatment, and you've got it sitting across the room from where you're working, absolutely not. So I would say it does a decent job at being a personal air cooler, but it's not the best. You can definitely get a lot better units than this that will cool a lot better than this thing could ever do. I think that there really just isn't enough mist output on this thing to do as much as it really should for the price that you pay. Now, my opinion might be colored by the fact that I bought this thing with a gift card, so I didn't pay any real money for this. If you're looking to buy one new, I think you're looking at like a $50, $60, $70 price tag. And that's not even including extra filters. I bought a second filter to go along with this as well. And you probably will want to do that. Technically, you're supposed to replace these filters every 3 to 6 months because they get kind of nasty. You're certainly supposed to clean them regularly. I don't think anybody ever really does either of those things, which is where a lot of the negative press comes from as well. If it's not, it leaks all over my nightstand, or it doesn't cool the room, it's the filter got disgusting after a week and I had to throw the thing out. Some of that, I guess you could call it operator error. I don't know if the leaking is really operator error. I don't know if the cooling a room thing is really operator error, because I'll be honest, a lot of the promotional material seems to imply that it can cool a room, and it's really not designed for that. It's a personal air cooler. People who own humidifiers know that they need to clean the filters. So you should probably be cleaning the filter. That just kind of goes without saying. These things have a lot of negative press, and some of it is kind of warranted. They're overpriced. I think for $15, $20, $25, it's a pretty acceptable device. For anything more than that, you're just wasting your money. You might as well go and buy a better unit. I think Amazon's got a whole bunch of them. You can do some shopping, do your research, and find something better than an Arctic Air Ultra. So, I think that's pretty much it for my review of this thing. It's not the best, and it's not going to replace air conditioning. Either way, thank you for watching. If you've got any comments, feel free to leave them down below.